Got a lot to cut out in the beginning. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Let's Rap About It podcast. This is episode number 8. And tonight we're going to be talking about managing grief. But before we get into that, I'd like to introduce the members that I have here with me. So I have Rika, who, as y'all can see, she's kind of jazzed up tonight with her red lip. And was it red? Kind of maybe burgundy.
It's purple.
It looks nice.
Thank
and then
you.
we have Kelvin here with us, who has on his nice little striped hoodie. And we also have a special guest with us tonight, Nikisha Gordon, who's going to be talking to us about managing grief. Before we get started, Rika, if you could introduce Nikisha for us.
Sure. To know that Nikisha, she goes back with all of us 30 plus years. We all grew up together. We're like family. She's my sister. Kelvin calls her his sister. Mika is obsessed with her skin and her back.
Beautiful.
So,
I thought we'll talk about that later. I'll tell you why.
so a little bit about
in the pool talking about that.
yeah, she's obsessed with her skin, but she does have nice skin. Awesome skincare routine. Anywho, but Nikisha Gordon is a devoted wife and loving mother of 4 wonderful children. She is a licensed professional counselor and the founder of the Listening Ear Health and Wellness Institute. She is well versed in various modalities and specializes in body-centered techniques using an
Experiential.
Yeah, because that wasn't going to come out right. Approach to engaging the nervous system. She has worked with individuals who have experienced trauma and desire to manage symptoms associated with anxiety, depression, PTSD, and unresolved grief. So she is a perfect person to have with us on tonight.
Welcome, Nikisha. Do you go by Nikisha or Keisha?
Keisha, I was going to say,
okay.
This on all of my platforms, just call me Keisha, because hearing y'all say sounds really weird.
Well, welcome, Keisha, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get started, I just want to send, not that Angela Bassett is ever going to probably see this, but congratulations to Angela Bassett on her honorary Oscar. Did you all see that? Finally, well deserved.
No, I did not see that. Kudos.
Yeah, well deserved. I think it was earlier this week.
Like, I don't know if I didn't get one for Tina Turner, but
listen, she should have had one several times. If we're being honest,
the way
several times.
Her body
could have certainly.
Yeah. She should have had it.
60 years old, still shutting it down.
Yeah,
I still aspire to have Angela Bassett arms. I'm still in here with my 2-pound weights working on it. Okay.
I don't think her 60 body of my 45-year-old body.
Any day.
You shut me. Listen.
Any day.
Problem on here.
All right. I do have one quick fact for us today in history. Did you all know that today in history, January 12th, I forgot the year. I probably should have wrote that down. But Motown was founded in Detroit. Did you all know that?
That had to be what?
I think it was like 1953. I think it was 53.
Yeah, Nika, you might probably wanted that year.
That was the most important part.
That was like me.
Let me look that up real quick. See, this is why we need John. If y'all didn't notice, we are missing Jonathan tonight.
1959.
1959. Thank you, Keisha. Yeah. So today in history, 1959, Motown was founded. All right. So tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. And instead of talking about our week, I hope everybody had a great week, by the way. But instead of talking about our week, I have 2 questions for you. First question is, would you rather be invisible or have the ability to read minds?
I would say I would probably prefer to be invisible. I don't want to see everybody's thoughts.
That's gonna be too much.
Reading minds is too much?
Yeah, that's gonna be too much.
That's too much. That's too much.
See, I would want to read minds.
No, why?
You don't have any friends.
Is it selective or like everybody you come around?
No, anybody you come around, you can read their mind.
But can I say I want to read that person's mind, or it's just I'm just gonna start?
It's just you can't. Yeah, you can just read minds.
That's crazy. I don't want that.
Yeah,
I mean, you probably could control it to some extent. You're not just gonna hear voices all the time, but
Let me be
I don't wanna read
invisible.
minds.
I'll be in the room when they talking about me.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I was thinking reading minds. So, you know, people have random thoughts or think about work or things like that. If I could read the mind of someone who like knows the stock markets or something like that or investing, then I could it's kind of like insider trading, right? But nobody knows I'm doing it, but I could make those trades and make money. That was my thought.
For inside trading.
It probably is.
Yes, I would just rather be invisible in the room where they're talking about it at. Do you know how, like, think about some of the thoughts that you have in your mind that you don't let come out of your lips?
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
Sounding. Yeah, no. Nope. Yeah, no.
Half the time, I don't want to know what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. No.
Can you imagine trying to stop somebody else's thoughts from going in your own head?
No.
Especially if you can't turn it off.
That's probably a good point.
I'll just
I don't know. I kind of still think I might want to read minds.
That'll drive you plumb crazy.
You would.
I mean, to know what people really want to really think about you.
I don't. You honestly know what people really think about you, whether you choose to act on it or not. You know what people really think.
You're right. You're right. You can discern stuff.
You know exactly what they think about you.
Yeah. All right. So the second question is, what fashion trend would you want to bring back and why?
Everything always come back.
But if you were to restart it, like what would you bring back? I know what I would bring back.
What would I bring back?
I don't know.
I kind of do miss the baggy jean era that the girls had, because now I just want to be comfortable and not tighten my jeans. So
that's coming back though.
I was gonna say, I feel like everything is coming back. I was like,
the baggy jeans is coming back.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find it.
I don't have any baggy jeans, but I did decide the other day, now that I'm 41, I'm too old to be wearing skinny jeans. I don't know if I'm too old or if just my body don't allow me to do it no more. But I have thrown away all of my skinny jeans and replaced them with Levi's straight leg jeans. And they're so comfortable. And they're high waist, so I can like tuck in my little pouch. It's the best. Sorry, Kelvin. I don't care.
Do your thing.
Listen. I'm too old for skinny jeans now.
These days, man. Wait, listen, it's all about comfort.
I can't get rid of my, put it like this. Skinny jeans work for me because like straight jeans and things, I have no hips. So I have to capture the little bit of curve that I have, because when I wear straight, I look like the
SpongeBob. Me too. But hey, I don't care. I don't care anymore. But that's not the fashion trend that I want to bring back, though. You know what fashion trend I want to bring back? When I was in elementary and middle school, remember how y'all used to take, I don't know if y'all ever did it, but you used to take the jeans and roll them up and make the little, yes. I would bring that back.
It's already back too.
People do that?
Exactly.
People have started doing,
they've been doing that.
Yeah.
No.
All trends come full circle.
I think I'm too old to do it, but I would do that with some slouch socks.
I was ready to say, I really do want to start wearing slouch socks and Timbs again. I'm not.
Do they sell slouch socks?
Yeah.
I'm quite sure they do.
Yes. But no, I really do want to start wearing slouch socks and Timbs and
all
jeans.
that stuff y'all can do right now.
I mean,
I don't know if slouch socks and Timbs ever went out of style in DC.
It's appropriate at almost 46 that I walk around in my cut off jean shorts with my slouch socks, Timbs, and a tank top, looking like 1996 at ODU.
It's tank top for me. If I had tank top body, can I bring an old body back?
Listen.
That's what can we bring back in? Can I bring back 1996?
You know?
Can I bring
back a 96 body?
Yeah. If I can do that, then I'd bring back another fashion.
In 96 or 2000, when I graduated high school, I thought I was kind of heavy then, and now I'm just like, I just wish I could be that size again. I took it for granted. I did that version of me so wrong. Now that I'm older, I'm like, man, I wish I could go back.
You look back at your high school self and you be like, I thought I was fat.
Really, I look like a bobblehead compared to what I look like now. Look like Star Jones. Hindsight is 2020.
Oh man.
Yeah. But those are the two questions. Kelvin, did you have a fashion trend you want to bring back?
I still dress like I'm in high school, so
There's nothing
So
wrong
it
with
don't.
that. As long as you can pull it off.
Jeans, nice tennis shoes, and a t-shirt. I still just like high school. Hoodies,
It's
all
classic.
that.
That's classic.
It's never gonna go out of style.
Yeah, that's classic. All right. So I don't know. Well, I do know. You all saw the video or the news article in the news about Dr. Bailey from Lincoln University in Missouri, who committed suicide earlier this week following bullying from her coworkers. I'll play a small clip of the news article for us to take a look at, and then we can talk about it in a little bit more detail. So let me share that with you all.
John Mosley and the Board of Curators after the university's Vice President of Student Affairs Monday took her own life. The death of Dr. Antoinette Bonnie Candia Bailey has sparked outrage from LU alumni across the country who now want Mosley to resign. As KRCG 13's Lauren Turman reports, new documentation from Bailey herself identifies Lincoln as, quote, where it started and where it ended.
The passing of Lincoln University Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Antoinette Bonnie Candia Bailey, has rocked both Jefferson City and university alums. Now, new documents are surfacing from Bailey herself on the day she took her own life, outlining University President Dr. John Mosley as causing, quote, enough harm and mental damage.
That whole day, I was really beating myself up because I'm like, if I would have read the entire email, maybe I could have saved her life.
Candia Bailey graduated from Lincoln in 1998. Her friends and loved ones say she was a loving, generous person who radiated positivity.
She's the type of friend where, she can just tell by talking to you in your voice that something's wrong. And she would get up in the middle of the night and she would dry.
So it goes on to say that she had wrote these emails saying that she had been intentionally harassed and bullied. And after receiving a poor evaluation, when she asked for help, Mosley, who's the president, ignored requests, failed to respond to emails, or when face-to-face danced around the topic. She also further went on to the Board of Curators bylaws back in March, saying that she was in need of some help. These issues she had addressed, even about needing FMLA to take some time off. And they responded with they do not take on any personnel or HR issues outside of hiring in certain circumstances. So she went to these people who she felt like, whether or not, I'm coming to you with this concern, this issue, they just pretty much said, I can't help you. Instead of, okay, if this isn't the body that can help me, guide me to somewhere I can get some help. I'm having these issues. This and this is so going on. So it's one of those things of often in the workplace, people want you to, oh, well, just suck it up. You'll be fine. Or, well, you leave your personal issues at home and you come over, you're here to work, and we're not going to address that. We're not here for how you're feeling and things like that. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be plenty more that come out with this story, because this is just briefly here. It definitely had to be something really seriously, going on for her. She was having depression, anxiety, and then to ultimately saying, I can't even take, not even enough to say I'm going to just quit, but I don't even want to go on with life. So I think there's a lot left to be addressed in this
case. I agree. I did read the article, and I saw where she had submitted the request for FMLA, and they came back and said it wasn't something that they handle. But what I didn't understand is, like you said, something else had to lead up to that point, and especially for her to point to him specifically saying that he was at fault or something had something to do with the bullying. So I do think we're going to hear a lot more about that. But you made a very valid point. A lot of companies, they want you to separate who you are as an employee versus who you are as an individual. The same person you are at home and outside of work, yes, you are an employee at work, but those things still carry on. They still come, they still impact what you do at work, and vice versa. The stress and everything at work impacts sometimes how you are at home. Not everybody can drop it at the door and leave it there. So it to say that, you know,
And honestly,
this isn't where,
is it the right thing to do?
is what the right thing to do?
To just drop it and leave it at either direction of what you have going on, because now you just disassociation yourself with what you have going on. Like, you know, you kind of morph, and then that starts that process of pushing things down. You add to it, you push it down, and then you go out the next day and you gloss over it, and you push it down some more. So like I said, it's definitely something more than these few words here.
Yeah.
That you get to a point because of just by her title. I'm pretty sure she had worked in this field a while. She is educated. She's probably proven herself. So it probably was not, I'm not able to do the job, like the job itself, but it had to be the environment that she was in.
How long did they say she had been working there?
It did not say.
It was recent.
No, she started there March or May of 2023. So
yeah, it was recent.
A whole year.
Oh, she just started the job.
Yeah. And her friend said that everything went downhill when she started that job.
Yeah, they said they had saw her at homecoming, and they could tell then something was going on, and her answer was just like, "I'm just trying to make it through." They was like, you know, she was smiling. She was just like, "I'm just trying to make it through." So even in whatever she left the day that she killed herself, she put in there that the president or whoever couldn't even be the one to announce that this happened. Like she said, such and such is the one that can.
Oh, no, he did something.
Yeah. Oh, she wanted him to have not. Yeah. So it's like,
and she left that in the letter.
Yeah. It's a lot.
She left specific instructions, I think, for one of her line sisters or somebody. To go through her stuff. Like she didn't want him in there or anything.
Yes, to collect her things.
Yeah.
So like I said, not even a whole year. So that means you really have no attachment to this job. It's not like you are vetted and you got like, oh no, I got all of this tied in here. I can't just up and say goodbye.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot more to this story. It's a lot. Come out.
Oh, it's a lot.
There's a lot more to this story.
Yeah.
There's something going on with that guy.
Yeah.
There's something up with him. He probably got a history.
And one thing I didn't check into, but I'm curious to know, I know that this is a HBCU, and I'm curious to know how many people of color do they have in these senior positions? Because I think the president he's white.
White.
And the guy with her was white.
Well, he was white too, yeah. And I know about the people on the board, but how many other people of color do they have in leadership positions there?
I'm quite sure that's going to come to the surface. And then the fact that you have this Black woman, which you very rarely see to this degree, where she's now saying, look, not only am I going to say something, I'm going to put it in writing, and I'm making it known across the board that I'm having these issues. And oftentimes we can be afraid to do that because we don't want to be seen as an angry Black woman. I don't want to speak up too much. I don't want to make too much noise. I don't want to be the complainer. And for her to go through those links and then to kill herself.
Yeah.
That really is kind of scary and sad.
Yeah, it is. The students held a protest. I don't know if it was today or one day this week, but the students held a protest, and also the Alumni Association wrote a letter
from him for his
to resign. Yeah.
And I think I saw today that he did he?
Oh, I didn't see.
Or did he? I think when you sent me the article, and I think they said that he was stepping down.
Why is a white man the president of HBCU?
No.
I thought that, but I guess it's
won't be the last.
I mean,
it is odd.
I'm sure it happens, but
But why?
Yeah. That's a question.
And he's married to a Black woman.
Really?
Oh, so you really did do some digging, huh, Keisha?
I didn't get to read the article, so that's that I could do. I was like,
I didn't read it, but I was digging.
Hey, listen.
Let me keep it 100. Okay. I was like, who is this man and who is connected to him? And because my thought, just like you, Kelvin, I was like, wow, I guess they still do that. I remember when Howard had a white president and the students protested to get him out because they said that he couldn't relate.
He can't.
Right. That was years ago. Like in the 60s.
That's why I'm like, that shouldn't even be going on right now.
I wouldn't think
you should
so.
definitely have a black president.
Yeah.
For HBCU.
I would feel odd as a black man applying for the position, interviewing, and then getting it, because then I feel like I'm taking it away from some very capable black person to run this institution.
You think?
You know they don't care.
I know.
So there's more. So I was just reading an NBC article here. So Keisha, he did not resign, but he is on paid leave. He's on paid leave.
Listen.
And
I'm not surprised.
Dr. Bailey, she was terminated by Mosley, who I think he's not the president. Is he the president? I don't think he's the president. January 3rd. So she was terminated by him on January 3rd, and she told her husband and her mother that the relationship over the holidays, she told him that the relationship with Mosley had deteriorated. And then she was terminated on January 3rd. He did not return any phone calls or emails for comment, of course. They said that she was depressed and did not feel supported in her role at the university. So there's another article out here that I'm just kind of skimming through it. It may give a little bit more detail, but he's on paid leave.
Nah, as her husband, I got to see him. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm gonna have to pay him a visit.
We don't need her husband in jail. Right. We don't need him in jail. I get it.
Without her.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to see him. Sorry.
Wow. So she got terminated on the 3rd of January and took her life
Monday, the 8th. 5 days later.
So did they know she was fired, or she just told her mom and her husband?
Well, she told her mom and her husband during the holidays that her relationship with him had deteriorated, and then she was fired on January 3rd. She may not have told him that she was fired.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, it just goes back to what was it that she was just like, because if it was that bad, quit. Before you had even got to it would have been one of those, I'm out here. Because you can feel where something is going to be fired. You should be like, let me be out. So like I said, a lot more to roll out. So all right. So we're gonna go to what our topic is tonight, managing grief. And I'm pretty sure all of us at some point in our life, we have experienced grief. And now often people think of grief as just within losing someone. However, you can experience grief with loss of a relationship through divorce, boyfriend, girlfriend, best friend. You can grieve relationships. You can grieve losing a job. There's all sorts of forms of grief without it actually being a death. And often people we know like to manage their grief in private by themselves for the feel of the thought of being weak or just being embarrassed about it. So tonight we're going to discuss what grief is, how it affects the body, and overall better ways that we can manage and cope. So Keisha, go ahead and take it from here.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off of something you just said about those. We've got the tangible things that we can lose, things that we can feel, touch, see. And then we have what they call ambiguous losses. And these are losses like loss of your job, loss of relationship, and just connecting it to what we were talking about. The young lady said, I feel like our relationship has deteriorated. And if she's communicating that she has a mental illness, it's no telling what could have gotten triggered in the midst of that loss. Like I'm experiencing that there is a disconnect from this supervisor. We once had this relationship that was thriving and flourishing, and we all were benefiting from it. Now something has changed, and I'm experiencing that not just on my job, but another thing that we touched on. It's hard to just leave things at the door, whether you're leaving it at the door of the office when you step into the office or leaving it at the door of your house when you step into your house. So the impacts of that loss will go with you everywhere that you go and will show up. So First, I'd like to normalize what grief is. Grief is a natural emotional response to any type of loss that we have. Again, whether it is something that we can see, touch, and feel, or something that is just what we imagine. This relationship that I once had with my mother or my father who is living, we no longer have this connection. Even the loss of functioning. If I get into a car accident and I lose one of my limbs, the way that I used to function, I may grieve that. That is a loss for me. And it impacts me on every level. And the way that I respond to that, my emotional response, we call that grief. And emotion is nothing more than energy in motion in our bodies. So one of the things that I like to really touch on and go into great lengths when I work with individuals dealing with grief is noticing where you feel it in your body, how that shows up, and being able to really sit with that. Because when we don't manage our emotions, when we don't release them regularly and we suppress them and just kind of ignore them and grow numb to them, then they show up in other places.
Yeah.
In unhealthy ways. So with some of my teenagers, hear me when I say this, I liken stuffing our emotions down to how we can sometimes really need to go to the bathroom. And if we don't release regularly, we can get stopped up, right? And as we get stopped up, that can become very uncomfortable. And the releasing of that can be very messy. Our emotions are the same way, right? So whether you hold it in because I don't want to go right now, even to the point of our tears. I don't want to cry right now. I don't want to say anything right now. I've got to be the strong one right now. So you don't allow those emotions, that energy that's in your body to be released. Then maybe you blow up on the job. Maybe you blow up on your husband for no apparent reason. Maybe you blow up on your kids for no apparent reason. Maybe you find yourself on the side of the road crying and don't realize why, because you've carried this.
Yeah.
As have I.
Yeah. I've never been on the side of the road crying, but I have had those days where I just feel down. I feel sad and I just feel kind of like, I describe it as blah. Like I don't feel like getting up. I do things and go through the motions because life goes on, right? But I can't always explain what it is. And I have, I'll call a friend like, I don't feel too good today, or I don't feel this, and I don't know why. And sometimes you might have that good cry and then you feel better, or sometimes you want to cry and the tears don't come. Yeah. And like, how do you move that energy? Like, as a grown adult now, I have issues with emotions and expressing those emotions. I've been told that I'm very stoic. I don't want to be stoic. It's not how I want to be. I want to show emotions and expression, but I'm just like, whatever. It's not that I want to be whatever, but I am. So like, how do you move that energy through your body, release it? Like, what's some good practices of getting that out?
And before you respond to that, Keisha, I just want to agree with Mika because I understand that feeling of things happen and you just like, okay, I'm just going to deal with it. And I want to use for an example with the passing of Kelvin's father, which was something abrupt, tragic, and the way I've learned, the way that I personally deal with grief in that matter is I busy myself. I go to work. So when it happened, I just immediately went into work mode of planning and I never processed it. Even up until now, it's been over a year. I just on this week closed out all of the pictures that was up on my computer for planning the obituary. Now, of course, they've popped up because they're at the bottom, but I was never ready to hit the X and close those pictures. They would come up like nope, and I just didn't want to close. It was like closing that final chapter for me. I've just dealt with it, and you just keep pushing it down. So as Mika was asking, like, how do you? When you are that type of person, like, I'm not going to address this. I'll be fine. I'm going to work.
Yeah.
I will be fine. How do
just keep going? That's it.
How do you literally say, I need this moment for myself, I need to be vulnerable because I never feel that I can be the vulnerable. I have to keep it going for everyone else.
The three of us had talked about this one time before, our attachment styles, right? And talk about attachment styles. One, this is the way that we have attached to our caregiver between the ages of 0 and 2, right? I won't go into a whole lot of detail about that, but understand that everybody has attachment style, and that attachment style kind of dictates how you interact with people, period, how you respond to stressors in life. Your most dominant attachment style is what you're going to kind of revert back to when you're under stress. So if you are conflict avoidant,
yeah, that is definitely true.
If you're what would you say, conflict avoidant?
Conflict avoidant, you're probably,
oh yeah,
you have an avoidant attachment style.
I avoid conflict at all costs. Now, if I have to, sometimes depending on what it is, I'll take it head on. But yeah.
If you are anxious, there's an anxious avoidant attachment. There's oh goodness, just because I want to tell you all of them, my mind is drawing a blank. So I'll come back to that and just say the way that you would need to learn how to lean into these emotions. One might start with therapy, because you want to give yourself the permission to lean into them and allow yourself time to feel it. And you may not necessarily do that with your best friends, because right now, let's just be honest. How many of us have the time to really sit down and process with each other to the point where we're hearing just one person's issue? If you call somebody today, you're going to tell them your issue. They're going to respond right back with their issue.
Yeah.
So you don't have time to really lean into whatever it is you're feeling. So you still end up going. You might touch on it a little bit and then you're zipping it right back up. So when I say taking some time to really have that one-on-one, so someone can really process with you to see what it is that you're feeling, giving you an opportunity to feel it, then you probably will not. That's the first thing. Second thing is you've got a lot of self-care activities that you could engage in, such as sound baths. Have you heard of sound bowls and using frequencies to really stimulate your cells in your body that can allow you time to process emotion without talking? There is a place here in Richmond called Prism, and they use what's called vibroacoustics. You go and you lie down on this bed, and they use sound waves that can it can penetrate you on a cellular level without any significant movement. It's all vibrations. So these vibrations, as they go through your body, they can actually lower blood pressure, help manage stress, get you into a very relaxed state. And when you get into those relaxed states, these are healing states in your body. Oftentimes we're operating under such high levels of stress, coming home, having to cook the meals, having to put the kids in, having to make sure we're in the bed at a decent enough time to get up and do it all over the next day, managing the bills, managing wifing, managing husbanding, managing the stress that we didn't really deal with due to a loss, because we don't really have the time to really break down, because we're afraid that if we feel too much, we might not function. And that is nothing more than our defense mechanism that comes up to protect us. So what you and Mika said was, I don't really have time to feel it. I just keep going. I busy myself, or I just kind of seem stoic. Maybe numb pops up to defend you, Mika. So instead of feeling anything, you just kind of, I don't have any feelings right now. How do you feel about that? I don't have any feelings. When really, we all have these protector emotions that come up to make us a little bit more comfortable and able to go throughout life, for fear that if I allow you to feel this, you may not be able to get done everything else that you need to get done. And that's simply not true. Our bodies are designed to handle both the pleasant and the unpleasant. When you think about giving birth and the ability to birth a baby and all of that pain and all of that tension, and as soon as you birth that baby, you ripped all open, but the emotion that you have for that baby, it comes to the surface with such a pleasant, beautiful sense in your body that is felt. you can hold both the pleasant and the unpleasant.
Mm-hmm.
Same is true as we go through our processes with grief. Does it hurt to lose and have to get adjusted to this whole new way of being? Absolutely. But then I can look back at all of those experiences that I had and hold value and positive memory in my body about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go too far before I give you time to ask a question, because I'll talk about that for an hour.
No, one thing I go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was like you were saying how we just become used to just pressing things down or feeling like you can take it. And around this time last year, I would have to say it's the first time in my adult life that I have ever felt as overwhelmed as I was. But it was piggybacking off of the loss of Kelvin's father. We were selling the house, doing things. And normally the selling and buying of the house would not have bothered me. But the underline was I was grieving. And when I kept saying I can't take any more, it was because I hadn't dealt, and I knew that what it was, but I wasn't ready to deal with it. And something as simple as cleaning the house when people come to visit was tearing me up. It was, and I was starting to get anxious. I've never been an anxious person, but I could feel. I'm like, I don't know how people live like this on a daily, because I could just be riding in the car and I could feel like my chest would get, and I could feel it up to here, and I would start crying. And y'all know me, I'm not a crier, but I had not processed it, because my way of dealing with things was always keep going and keep going. And it was the very first time that I literally felt like I could not, keep going. It was a very scary feeling. And I would share with Kelvin, like, I just can't take anymore, but I still wasn't opening up as much as I should have because like one day I think he may have seen me like tear up, and he actually said, "Are you actually crying?" Because that's not my norm. But it was, at the end of the day, I felt like I have to keep going for everybody in my house. I'm the mom. My husband just lost a parent. I know he's going through, whether, he opens up and share it or not. I know, he's going through, the kids, everything. You just stack it on, but it's something that, it could take. It could definitely take.
Last year around this time, the house was real funky.
Yes, I mean, it was just a cloud there, and it was a cloud.
It wasn't right at all.
It wasn't good. It was the cloud of grief, and it's you sit back and think about it, like, we were struggling.
Yeah,
we were struggling.
Yeah, and I didn't help it none. Trust me.
But what was you going to say, Mika?
No, I was just going to say, I didn't realize one thing that I learned is that you can grieve relationships, right? Because whenever I think of grief, I always think of death and loss. I'm like, oh.
Any type of loss, you can grieve. And those losses look different. And you will handle each of those losses differently. Depending on your temperament, your personality, what you have going on. I want to touch on something. I can't remember who talked about the crying, and
probably, yeah.
I'm a big crier.
When you cry, when you get done, do you ever kind of feel like, whew,
yes,
I feel good after that?
Sometimes, yeah.
So what I recently learned is there is a release of, there's a biochemical component to your tears. There are 3 types of tears. Who knew this? One is called a basal tear, an emotional tear, and a reflex tear. A reflex tear is like when you're chopping onions, right?
Okay.
There that will cause your eyes to, water. The basal tear is the tear that helps your eyes to, when you yawn and you get moisture in the tear. People are like, are you crying? Nah, my eyes just watered. That's a basal tear. And then you have emotional tears that actually release chemicals that cause you a release in your body. So crying can be very, very therapeutic and cathartic in that. So when people have these big cries and they're like, "Whoo, I needed that cry," and you feel
you do feel better. Yeah.
I want to go to sleep.
Yes, and sometimes that's the best sleep.
Sometimes that don't drain you.
We
Yeah.
go to sleep so much after church. Think about it. You have a good church service. What you doing? Coming home and go to sleep because you cried at church that Sunday.
And it's work. So imagine having all of this, which you talked about, Mika. When I see this person, I feel this in my body, right? What Rika said too, you know, when this time last year, I was so anxious. I would get in my car and I could feel it in my body. So you were to a point where you could feel it and you no longer could control it. If you were to think about the release that you get after you cry from carrying that stuff around for so long, that's a heavy carry, a heavy load, because you've not released consistently over time. So if we were to allow ourselves opportunities to really sit and feel, so you could get the good cry, get the good laugh, there are, again, when you get a good laugh and you laugh consistently, that does things to our body to put us into a position of healing.
Yeah. A good laugh goes a long way sometimes.
Absolutely. Yes, a good laugh, a good genuine touch. So these are all things that will help with grief. They have this thing called the 20-second hug. It sounds really like, what's that? But if you really embrace someone genuinely for a good 20 seconds, just see how your body feels after. Not like the church hug, the deep, but and not like the sexual hug that you might give, but that deep caring, like I got you hug.
Yeah,
that is that thing can break you down. You ever hug somebody after you've had a hard time? They don't know that you didn't had a hard time,
and
but
you
they
be tearing up.
Hug and you like, dang, I won't try to cry.
But let me just say, 20 seconds is a long time. You don't realize how long 20 seconds is.
And it's felt, and it impacts your oxytocin.
I want to say, if you all can ever get a hug from Vivian Woolfolk, okay, that's Damien mama.
Break it down.
First of all, she gonna
swallow you.
Like when she hug you, she mean that thing with the bottom of her heart, okay? She gonna just take you, you know, she about 6'7", and she just gonna take your body up, and you can, but you can feel the love in just a simple hello hug. I mean, I can't explain it, but when
I know what you mean.
Her arms around you, you just like.
I work with a lady I used to work with a lady like that. She's retired now, but she's one of those people that certain people she kind of takes under her wing and cares for. And the way I was one of those people, and the way that she hugs you, you'll be at work like, oh my God. Like, yes.
Your body needs that. And your body score of, there's a really good book called The Body Keeps a Score. And it talks about how trauma is stored in the body and how you will remember things.
Oh yeah.
Your body will remind you.
Y'all know I have gotten very good the last year of being hugged and touched, because I would avoid a hug and please don't hug me. Don't do it. But I have really opened I really have.
The 20 seconds will really break her down.
Yes, that's the eternity for her.
But and it was, and all of that was part of my coping, my shield. Like, don't listen. I want to be this hard person.
Right.
Don't love on me. Just I like
me. I'm too touchy feely.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Rika. So I kind of, to some extent, I see a lot of me in you, and I don't know if it's because we're siblings or what, but why do you feel like you have to have that hard exterior, or like, I'm this tough person? I know you're not really all that tough as you make it believe, but why do you feel like you have to have that tough exterior? I try to. I mean, it's me too, but why?
I am soft with who I'm soft with. And I just don't, I I don't know. I just feel like there's some people that I just don't need you to know that I'm this nice, sweet person. And I tell people, if you don't take the time to get to know me, to know that I am the sweetest person, then you were never meant to be in my circle. Unfortunately, a lot of coworkers have gotten that story. Because they be like, oh, Sharika, she scares me. And I'm like, listen, don't be intimidated by me. I said, I'm not the worst person you're gonna ever. I said, but if you take the time to get to know me, you'll find out that I'm the sweetest person. I just don't have a lot of fluff to give a lot of people. But I will say that I growing up, I made the shield.
Yeah.
I became this person to deal with what I had to deal with.
Yeah.
Because I got tired of crying all the time and crying about this, and you've hurt my feelings. So I became it is what it is. I'm no longer going to allow you to hurt me. So therefore, I put up the shield, and that shield continued into my adult life.
Adulthood, yeah.
But it became my protector to not to be hurt by somebody that I think should be, caring and loving and do things with me. So after being, oh, we're going to do this and we don't do it, or I'm going to take you here. You get tired of being hurt and vulnerable. So as a child, it was like, you know what? I'm not going to cry no more. I don't care anymore. I'm not going to show affection anymore. So that's how I just became. And as I got older and I went out into the world, which you almost do need to have some kind of heart. I mean, you can't be just completely gullible to everything. I became that person. And like I said, over time, the wall but I had to get with the right, to be able to bring down that I am a vulnerable person, because I believe I can trust you with who I am. And until I was able to trust somebody to be able to, nope, this is how I felt I had to be.
So 2 things. One, I will say, if you weren't my sister and I didn't know you, I would think that you are not the nicest person. I would not talk to you. We would not be friends.
Dang.
If you don't take the time to get to know me, that's on you.
If we weren't siblings, and I've had some of my friends tell me, man, your sister is kind of, I'm like, no, she's all right. She's not. But to what you said, like, I totally understand that. Like, you do, and I agree, like, over the years growing up, you kind of build up this exterior, like, I don't want to be let down. I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to be hurt. So I'm just not going to care about anything. I'm going to be nonchalant. I said this recently to my manager at work, and she was like, really, you think that way? So I always expect the worst. And if something good happens, that's just like a plus. It's icing on the cake. But I'm always going to be like, oh, the sun is not coming out tomorrow. Whatever the worst thing possible that can happen is what I'm going to expect, because I don't want to be disappointed. And then if it doesn't happen, or if it does happen that way, I'm like, see, I told you, that's why, But I'm the same way. But you know what's helped me a lot is having a child. So in having Ari, like, you can't be that person to your kid. And by default of having Ari, it kind of flows over into other things. Like, where now, okay, I don't feel like I have to be this tough person. I kind of let my wall down. And something pretty cool happened last night, and it's pretty cool to me. So, we teach Ari to understand her emotions. She's only 2, so she has lots of big emotions, and she doesn't always know what to do with them. But we do teach her how to understand them and what she feels, and we ask her, like, what are you feeling? How's your body feeling? And all those questions. And she can pick it up and tell us. So the other day she's like, oh, I'm just frustrated. And she was. And I'm like, well, Ari, what's going on? But last night, we put her to bed. She was crying, and she has this thing where she wants to leave the door open now. She wants to leave it cracked a little bit. She doesn't have a nightlight or anything like that. So we put her to bed, and as she was crying and making these pleadings of, I want to do this, or I want to do that, or, leave the door open, whatever she was saying, a lot of times we just tune her out, because, like, all right, no, you're not going to the potty. No, you're not going to have 10 stuffed animals in your bed. All right, just lay down, But she was crying because she wanted to leave the door open, and we weren't listening to her. And so we closed the door, And she was just crying. And so finally, Tanya goes over there and she's like, Ari, what are you crying for? What's going on? And she's like, you hurt my feelings. And she's like, well, what did I do? I was just asking you to leave the door open and you closed it while I was talking. Like, she was so hurt. And but her being able to say, Mom, you hurt my feelings, and I'm gonna tell you that you hurt my feelings. Like, that was a big moment, because we always tell her, like, Ari, if anybody hurts your feelings, or if anybody does something to you, or you feel this, it's okay to tell people how you feel, whatever. And sometimes you don't think they're listening, but she was listening, and she did last night. She was like, listen, I'm gonna tell you hurt my feelings, and you best believe it's gonna come up again. This is not the end. It's gonna be like 2 weeks from now. I'm like, Mom, remember when you hurt my feelings? Like, it's gonna come up again. But having a 2-year-old has taught me a lot about myself, even as a 41-year-old adult. Mm-hmm. So I just think that that's, pretty cool, and how it's funny how things can change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Imagine having you as your own parent, and the difference that would make on your ability to be vulnerable and transparent about how you feel, so that you wouldn't have to shut all those things off.
Yeah.
The fear of how people are going to respond to you, or how you're going to be able to move throughout life.
Mm-hmm. I think we talked about this, I don't know how many episodes ago, but we were talking about parents and how our parents were growing up, and a lot of times they were only doing what they knew to do.
It was on the one with Tony.
That was the one with Tony?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they were raising us and teaching us, or maybe not teaching us directly, but things that they knew to do based on how they were raised. So that's a good point. Now, us knowing things a little bit differently, or understanding things a little bit differently, and raising our own kids, yeah, that makes you think, what would that be like if our parents knew those things, and how would you be different as an adult today?
Yeah,
showing up for yourself, or at work, at home, or wherever.
So as we're talking, I'm still thinking about, okay, how does some of these elements of what we're saying, how does it tie into the way that we grieve as people, individually? So Rika, you said, I know a lot of this, the way that I present myself and kind of look so hard and tough on the exterior is because of the way that I grew up. These are things that happen that caused me to be so tough, and show people that tougher side. That translates over into the way that you manage your emotions when that disappointment and that shock of grief comes. Right? So now I've got to present as the one that can hold it down, the one that's going to still get it done, because one, I always get it done for myself, because I'm not going to disappoint me. And if I disappoint me, I can manage that, but I can't manage and handle the disappointment of other people. So I'm not going to allow that to come in and impact the way that I move throughout the world. Okay. Bump that. I'll deal with this. But all the while not allowing yourself, like you let Ari tell you, I'm hurt. You hurt me by that. You interviewed her. Sometimes managing that grief and those emotions is also just interviewing yourself. How do I feel about this? Giving yourself the opportunity to really kind of check in, and really doing a body scan even. What am I feeling in my head right now? Like, what are my thoughts like? Am I blank? Have I dissociated? Am I even in my body? Because sometimes when grief hits us, we can go outside of our body and almost into the future where we're planning. And like you said, now I'm just doing things. I'm putting things to order.
Yeah.
You're not even where your feet are. Your feet are here in this moment, but you're now taking several steps to doing X, Y, and Z, not giving your body the opportunity to connect with the emotions that you're feeling. So when you get still in the car, the anxiety and all the energy is now, it's rampant.
It's just you by yourself. Yeah. Forces you to evaluate the situation, because you have nothing around to distract you.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
you were saying, and you were saying.
Oh no, I'm just saying that's me. My morning ride to work is my time. So I have a lot of my breakdowns in the morning, because I'm just in the car. It's early. You just riding, and I listen to inspirational in the morning. So it could be a song, and it'll trigger a whole session. Next thing you know, I'm pulling up at work. I'm like, I gotta get myself together. Like I've been fighting somebody. You know what I'm saying? And I get to work. Everybody like, You all right? You good? I'm like, yeah, just had a moment in the car. It's sober. You know what I'm saying? I do it. Not say I do it all the time, but like some
You
people
play
know.
that Donnie McKirkland Stan?
Oh yeah.
It's taking me out. Yeah. I'm crying. If I need to cry, that's the song.
Let me just put this on today.
I actually came on this morning.
Daily release.
He closed the show out this morning with that.
The Donnie McClure song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sing it, Mika.
Huh?
No, you don't want me to sing it.
I know the song, but as I'm going through the words.
Oh no, that's
what do you do when you've done all you can?
That I was
at the end.
That
seems like
I was.
Let's not sing too much because I might start crying right now.
I think we all got those songs.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes there are songs that make me think of my grandma. I just start crying. Like some random Canton spirituals come on.
Right.
Man, listen. I was on looking at YouTube, and it was this little girl singing to her grandmother because she has dementia. She was doing the what's the thing?
Sundowning. I saw it. Yeah.
Sundowning.
I saw it. Yeah.
Broke me all the way down in the car.
Yeah, she was singing too.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hold my glasses on the dashboard.
For Kelvin to cry. That he will.
Man, listen.
When we watching a movie, and we could be looking straight ahead, and I'd be like, 3, 2, 1. We almost got it.
Almost, and listen, I can't. If it's anything to do with like kids or like father son, like a relationship, man, nah, that don't take me out every time. I'm talking about. I don't care what it is.
That's all right, Kelvin.
Like we be watching like Chicago Fire and stuff like that, and some of those storylines.
You be crying.
Yeah, what?
All the way. I was the only one that cried at The Color Purple. Nobody else in the row cried. It's okay.
Well, you know, if they had did the scene, I probably would have cried, but they didn't. So. They did not.
Yeah. It's healthy though. Just again, that healthy release consistently over time will help you to not blow up somewhere else. And you're like, I don't even know why I went off on that man like that.
Yeah.
Just the checkout person at the grocery store. He didn't run your cold items up out of order.
That has happened.
Cold items out of order.
Oh yeah. Cold items all got to go together. I put my stuff on the
conveyor belt how I want it bagged.
Yeah. Yes, you have to. And if you put something out of order, that's just wrong.
Because I want to take it out the way that I put it in. Don't mess my system
up. Don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. Yeah. But you will blow up on somebody at the wrong time and don't know why you going off on them.
Or be dissociating, be on autopilot. Don't know how you got to where you got, just driving. I didn't
we are all guilty of that one.
Just gone.
Yeah. Just like, when did I get in my neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll be almost in DC, then past Springfield and everything. Here's a mile. Just moisture. Gone.
Like, wait a minute, I've been in the car too long. Something don't feel right.
Now I look up like,
you know about that.
Oh man, Seminary Road. Let me turn around.
You 3 exits past.
Gone.
Wow.
So Keisha, if you could just recap real quickly of what grief is, mechanisms of dealing with it, and different things like that.
So again, grief is something that is extremely normal and natural. We are born dying. So we have to anticipate at some point that something in our life is going to die. If there's a start, there's an end. We may not always be able to predict that, but we know that the ending may be inevitable. So understanding that grief is a natural emotion to losing or the ending of something, normalizing that and giving yourself the space to feel that emotion as it passes through your body, giving yourself permission to cry, giving yourself permission to lean into the emotion and not go on numb and not rely on busy to help you deal with it, but to maybe even look into getting yourself some therapy. We also need to normalize having someone to talk to as a people, as a culture. We've gotten better at that, but taking time to engage in good self-care practices. Kelvin said his self-care is making sure that he put on the right song that can hit that release button in the morning so that he can get his good crying before he get to work. So whatever it is that's going to help you get into a good, healthy rhythm of releasing so that those moments of grief don't sneak up on you, get into a good, healthy pattern of that. These are small things, but the small things that you do consistently over time can keep you so that you don't have to, end up with the bigger things, like maybe having a significant meltdown that could lead to hospitalization or significant bouts of depression, which that's a whole nother topic. Grief and depression are separate, even though you may experience some depression in the midst of whatever way you're managing or dealing with your loss.
Mm-hmm.
Lakeisha, you did mention, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
So you did mention, I just want to make sure I wrote it down right. I want to check out this book called The Body Keeps the Score. Was that it?
Yes.
Okay. I want to check that out. And then you also mentioned a place in Richmond for the sound bath. I think you said Prism. They offer sound
and
that's in
sound baths and vibroacoustics.
Okay, got it.
You got it.
Okay.
Another good resource. I think we talked about this one time before. Float tanks.
Yeah.
Floating is another way of connecting with your body and just giving yourself time to be and to feel, getting yourself relaxed enough to feel. Sometimes we don't relax enough to allow ourselves.
I think I remember when you first told me about it, and I literally said, Keisha, I don't know if I want to be alone with floats. The water is so hypertonic it makes you float.
Yeah, you can float.
Everybody will float in it.
But I think
actually,
I just don't know if I want to be with myself with my thoughts.
I did one. There's one here in Fredericksburg. If you're interested, I went to it. It's right off of. Oh, I didn't know I did that. It's right off of Lafayette. It's called Elasian Float Spa, and they have. I think your float is for like 50 minutes, and you take 10 minutes to get out and stuff like that. But I will admit, not only does it give you time with your thoughts, I fell asleep in there, but it also has a benefit physically. Like it helps with joint pain, inflammation. When I got out, like the pain that I have in my fingers and stuff from arthritis, I didn't feel anything. My hair did get really salty and I was a little upset about that, even though I had on a swim cap, but it is very good. I will recommend that.
It's very relaxing.
But yeah, if you want to try it, it's one right here down the street.
We just did a brief episode about depression and anxiety, but nothing in depth as far as being clinical. So we definitely want to yet again have you back about that, because again, it is something that is very common, and a lot of people again don't like to address it, or even though they are often afraid to admit that they suffer with depression. So we will have you back about that. All right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been a great conversation, and I hope that someone that's listening can pick up something from it, put it to use, or share it with your friends and family or someone you know that may need help with their own struggles with grief and managing the energy and emotions that we all have. So thank you all for tuning in, and have a great night.
Good night.